It is Friday, February 9th, 2024. This is the last edition of Football Today prior to the kick of Super Bowl 58. You know that dude from the Talking Giants world, Bobby Skinner. I am Chris Rose, producer Mikey, along for the ride as well. So where are you watching this big old game on Sunday?
I'm a small group people, so I'll usually go to my parents who don't watch football, so it's kind of nice. They don't really partake in it, but it's me,
Mm.
my brother, and our loved ones, his wife, my fiance. We watch it, we talk. We're just tuned into the game. I'm excited. How about you?
Well, I'll be on for NFL Network. It's the best 2 hours, in my opinion, on the network all year is the post-game show live from the field. So I'll be down there with Maurice Jones-Drew and Michael Robinson. So we watch the game together in our little green room. Um, Somewhere, I don't know where it moves from stadium to stadium. So I'll be interested to see where we are at Allegiant. Cannot wait. I think it's going to be a blast. I think it's going to be a great, great game. And either way, these are two teams that have some pretty good talkers. So I'll be excited either way to talk to the winners.
This
Really
Super
cool event.
Bowl, this is the Super Bowl we've essentially been waiting for
Yeah.
since the season started. And by the way, my favorite time to watch network, sports shows is after championships. I think like on the field, confetti, talking to them. I
Yep.
think it's the like my friends will get annoyed because I'm like, no, I want to watch the post game show. Like, do not turn this off. Or I need to get home to watch the post game show if we watched it somewhere else. So very, very excited for that. What does NFL Network run during the game?
It's a good question. It's probably a game of some other game. Like, I don't know if it's
Last year's
going
Super
to be.
Bowl?
I don't know if it'll be a Super Bowl or not. It's a good question. I haven't checked our counter programming, but you know, just flip on. All I can tell you is this: when the game's over, right after the trophy presentation is when we come on. So they kiss the Lombardi. They say a few things on stage. Flip on over to us. We'll have everybody from either team.
I'm
So it'll
excited
be
for it.
great. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's break it down, my friend. More important for the Niners this coming Sunday that Brock Purdy does not throw an interception or that the defense does get at least one from Patrick Mahomes.
I think I think I know why you asked this question because I went and looked at it. Purdy is 3-4 when throwing an interception, 11-0 when not. Mahomes this year 5-6 with an interception, 8-0 when he hasn't. I actually think it's more important for Mahomes to not throw one. He hasn't thrown one since December 25th. The Chiefs, and I know the next question has this, have not been able to score in the second half, right? They're 28th in the NFL this year in second half points per game. In the playoffs, they've only been zero point 0.4 points better, 7.6 to 8, where I think the 49ers just have way more firepower, where the Chiefs have lived off of efficiency, right? Because of the way teams play them, because of their personnel. They've had to live off of efficiency and less the big plays. So I think the 49ers have the power to come back from that, and the Chiefs don't have as much.
So you mentioned Brock Purdy this year, 11-0 when he doesn't throw a pick. I'll take you a step further on that. In games since he starting in December of 2022, in which he does not throw an interception and throws at least 5 passes, the Niners are undefeated. You have to throw that caveat in there because I think last year in the NFC Championship game, he did not throw an interception, but he did not attempt at least 5 passes before he got banged up, and they ended up losing the game. So that's a recipe for success for them. The other thing is Kansas City can win games when Mahomes gets intercepted. In fact, they have a negative 11 turnover differential this year. Negative 11. As great as their defense has been, they don't pick off the other team's passer for the most part. And Mahomes, I think he had his worst year in terms of interceptions. If Kansas City wins the Lombardi yet again, this will be the worst turnover differential for any champion in the history of the sport. Somehow they can get around it. And I don't think the Niners can.
Here's my thing is we weren't viewing the Chiefs very highly when all those interceptions were happening, right? People
True.
were saying this isn't a Super Bowl contender. Some of those turnovers are happened like directly from their receivers as well, too. And again, like Purdy 3-4 with the throwing interceptions, Mahomes 5-6, right? So both one game under 500 when throwing one. So the 49 Purdy threw an interception last week and they had that great comeback. How about we don't need to get the huge comeback and run the ball a little bit better and be able to just score 30 points without having to do it all in the second half? To me, the Chiefs, one, you can't rely on the receivers to make a bunch of plays. They have, even last year when they had better receivers, they live off of efficiency because of the way teams play them and Mahomes' greatness. They live off of efficiency. And I think we're the 49ers. I mean, they have, like, if the 49ers have 3 plays of 40 plus yards, no one's surprised.
All right, let's move on to this one. And this might be one of my favorite questions in the entire season. Kansas City's defense has given up just 10 second-half points in the postseason. True or false? Kansas City has become more of a defensive than offensive team.
False, because I don't think there's any other quarterback in the NFL that could have gotten this team here. Right? Like, yeah, in the second half, they haven't been good, but, they were 6 and, first half points in the NFL during the regular season, 15.3 in the playoffs. And I just don't think there's any other QB who makes this work with the lack of wide receivers, right? The bad tackle play and not, taking sacks. His best player, Travis Kelce, is aging, but because they are able to freestyle and do so many different things, like, that's a lot of on Mahomes as well. Their defense is obviously a huge factor, but because I don't think any other QB gets this team here, I'm going to say they're still Mahomes' offense-led team.
No, I can't believe I'm going to say this because Mahomes is one of my favorite players to watch, possibly ever. I'm just a huge fan of his. I think it's true. I really do. This is the youngest defense to make it to a Super Bowl since the 2009 Colts. And they have done such a good job building it through the draft over the last couple of years. But look at the guys who are 25 or younger on this team. Bolton, Gay, McDuffie, Karlaftis, Connor, Chenal. All those are big-time pieces. So at least for the foreseeable future, none of those guys are going anywhere. L'Jarius Sneed, who's 27, is a free agent to be. I think at the very least he gets tagged. I don't know what's going to happen to Chris Jones. He is the senior member of that defense at 29. But, man, they're deep. They're athletic. I just didn't think that there was a way this team could not score in the second half of the AFC Championship game against Baltimore and make it to this spot. I mean, if I had said that would have happened, did you think there was any way they were going to make it?
Yeah, because I still don't trust Lamar fully in the playoffs. But they've kind of done that all year, right? So, like, as much as, like, they've been so bad in the second half, they've built up leads and allowed that defense to kind of get after teams. And hey, again, my argument for them, even through the regular seasons, like, you have Mahomes, Kelce, and the number 2 defense. So, yeah, I do think it's a real conversation. But my point is just going to be that I don't think Josh Allen, I don't think Lamar Jackson,
right?
I don't think any other quarterback gets this team to this point. And I think there's even other great quarterbacks who wind up not even made the playoffs. But that defense is sick. It starts with Chris Jones, though. And if the Chiefs are going to win, I really think it's going to be because of Chris Jones on third down. They're going to line him up on the right tackle for 49ers, McKivitz, who struggled this year. And he's going to be able to win that battle consistently. So to give the defense credit, like, Mahomes and Kelce have always gotten the headlines with the Chiefs. Chris Jones has stirred that drink just as much as anybody. He's the second best defensive tackle in the NFL after Aaron Donald, in my opinion.
Yeah, but do you know how many sacks he's got in the Super Bowl?
I don't know. No.
None.
0, you're going to say?
None.
Yeah, pass rush is not a sack in the game.
I agree. We'll get to that in just a second, but it's just interesting that he hasn't had a sack yet. It took him forever to get his first playoff sack. Like, he went double-digit. Well, he went double-digit games and then finally got 1 or 2 or whatever it was. So, all right, Andy Reid has a pair of come-from-behind wins in the fourth quarter of Super Bowls. In the meantime, Kyle Shanahan's offense, first as an OC in Super Bowl 51 with the Falcons and then Super Bowl 54 as a head coach with the Niners, has blown double-digit second-half leads in games. How big a deal are both of those statements?
I think it's overblown on the Shanahan front, because even though because offense, you can point to this one play as, oh my God, why didn't he run here? And Matt Ryan took the sack. To me, that Falcons collapse falls way more on Dan Quinn's defense than Kyle Shanahan's offense. Like, I mean, the Patriots were able to just march down you just knew once they got into 8 points, you knew the game was over. And then the Super Bowl with the 49ers, the throws were there. Jimmy G just didn't make them. Whether it was the deep ball down the throw field or, on that post, or, the crosser that was right in front of him on a third down, the throws have been there. His quarterback didn't hit them. And those are throws, maybe not the first throw, but the second throw is a throw Purdy's making.
Here's the problem. His teams haven't scored in the fourth quarter at all. Super Bowl 54, Super Bowl 51. I believe in that NFC Championship game against the Rams, they were shut out in the last quarter. So something happens here. And I get it. We can look at the quarterback play. But as great as Brock Purdy has been, he's not Patrick Mahomes. So maybe he makes the plays. Maybe he doesn't. What do you think?
He's made the plays the last two games to get them here.
Yes, he has.
Fourth quarter comebacks.
Different, but wouldn't you agree? Different scenario when we get on this stage.
No, but my point is that I just think the Shanahan stuff has been a little overblown.
I mean, facts are facts. You've either scored in the fourth quarter of a Super Bowl or you haven't, and he hasn't.
Yeah, I just put that again. The throws were there for Jimmy G, right? Shanahan's offense put the throws there, and then, and I mean, you remember how they got there, right? It's basically game planning around Jimmy G because they ran the ball. I think we looked it up. Like they threw the ball less than 25 times getting to the Super Bowl, and then now he deserves blame in that Falcons collapse. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve blame in that. But what I'm saying is I think the blame pie goes way more to Dan Quinn's defense than it does. I mean, it's one thing to not stop him how about stop one of the 2-point conversions? So I just think the blame pie goes more to Dan Quinn on that than Kyle Shanahan. But because it's offense and we can remember Matt Ryan taking that sack, we point to Shanahan.
You will agree, though, regardless, Kyle Shanahan will be a huge talking point come Monday. Win or lose.
Absolutely. But if you're Kyle Shanahan, your job's safe. If you being the talking point after a loss doesn't make it sting any worse or less. That's what happens. If you get to the most important game and lose, you're gonna have negative talking points about you for a week, and then it's gonna come back to man, that team, he's still a great coach.
Well, there's only one guy who has a higher playoff winning percentage than Kyle Shanahan with, a certain number of games coached. I think it's maybe 10 games coached, and that's Vince Lombardi. That's it.
That's kind of shocking that Bill's not higher than him because they got you all those conference championships. I guess they had so many losses after going for 20 straight years.
Right.
But also, can we not? I mean, Andy Reid was a long time. I still think he actually struggles with this. Is known for end of game time man. I still don't think he's actually even good at it. He's already.
The rumor is he's already burnt a third quarter timeout. So
yeah, he's been really bad at that. I think time management gets a little over talked about because it's one of the few things that we can all grasp, and I think we can actually do a better job than these coaches because in real time, and I actually think Madden helps
totally.
But Andy Reid is actually bad at it.
Yeah, and they've all tried to hire people, and they still don't get it right. I mean, I think it's brutal, the time management. To me, the thing that always chaps my ass, seriously, early third quarter, it's 2nd and 8, and the clock's running down. You'd rather burn a timeout there with 11 minutes to go in the third quarter than take a 5-yard delay a game penalty.
There's been books written about this, by the way, and they are on your side with that, right? The chance of you needing that timeout at the end of the game is a lot higher than the chance of you converting on that 3rd and 6 that you called the timeout for. Anyway, so there's been books written about that where it's save the timeouts. It's going to help you a lot more than saving the 5-yard penalty or getting the right play call you want to get brought in. Listen up, football fans. This is the last weekend of the year to get your football bets in. We've teamed up with DraftKings, and now is the perfect time to take your shot at the crown. You want the crown? Let's get the crown. Let's get down with the crown. Right now, all new customers get $200 in bonus bets instantly when they place their first $5 bet on anything. So download the DraftKings app now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now, and use promo code football today. That's all one word. Wondering what you can use your $200 in bonus bets on? Combine multiple bets together from Super Bowl 58. We can say that around here for a shot and an even bigger payout. If you're already signed up for DraftKings, like me, like yo, you can make a bet on Super Bowl 58, which, by the way, is my number. That's my football number, number 58, and get a bonus bet back. So it's kind of Super Bowl Bobby Skinner. Get a bonus bet in the amount of your initial wager. Max reward varies. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code football today. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code football today, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. You'll be glad you did.
All right, let's move on. It was NFL honors last night. Well done. I think it's cool to see everybody together. I think it's a lot of fun. What's the biggest takeaway from any of the awards? Somebody gets shortchanged, Hall of Fame class. We can go wherever you want with this one.
So I think this is the thing we're the most passionate about. When we talked about Hall of Fame a couple months ago, Antonio Gates was a shoo-in.
I don't even think we talked about him because we thought he was such a lock.
We went like, okay, Julius Peppers, Antonio Gates. Now let's have conversations about the rest. And as much as I love Devin Hester, I'm a Miami guy. I love Devin Hester. His highlights are the most fun to watch. That's insane to me to have Devin Hester in there over Antonio Gates. And I love that the Hall of Fame is actually tougher to get into than most Hall of Fames, right? But that's crazy to me that a returner is in before Antonio Gates. Like if Devin Hester belongs in, to me, I think it belongs in on the last ballot that he's available.
I was shocked. When I saw the 7 people, coming out of the ground. I was like, I don't think Antonio Gates is on there. I was like, what? I would love to hear this. Like Stephen A. Smith got all fired up today because somebody gave Josh Allen a first place vote for MVP, costing Lamar a second unanimous MVP. To me, I would want to know who left Antonio Gates off the ballot. That's what I'm curious about and why. Why? We're talking about third all time in receptions among tight ends, third in yards, far and away first in touchdowns among tight ends. He was a 5 or 6 time All-Pro. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's wild, right? Even if like another Miami guy, I love Andre Johnson, who I think probably should get in eventually. Like having him over Antonio, it's not having Antonio Gates first ballot is like he's got to be shocked this morning, right? Like, well, I guess they find out because they come and go to their house, but when he didn't get that, like that's shocking.
Well,
that was shocking to me that he didn't get, that Antonio Gates wasn't in.
I'm privy a little bit to the voting. Obviously they don't do it the way they used to. They used to just get into a room on Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, and do it all day, like from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then they'd announce it. I actually hosted the show one year where they did the Hall of Fame announcement. And it was crazy that's how they did it. They brought all 15 of the finalists to wherever the Super Bowl site was, and they'd put them on 2 different floors, and they'd put them in separate rooms. And then some of these people would fly in for a few days at the Super Bowl, and then they'd go home so disappointed. I like how they do it now, but
That's
part
so
of the
mean.
way that they do this voting is they'll use the term clear the decks. We have to clear the decks because, oh no, there's 2 or 3 Hall of Fame-ish receivers that are coming up on the ballot in the next 2 ballots. Well, we got to get somebody off of that wide receiver list and put them in the Hall of Fame. I'm like, wait a second. That's the dumbest thing ever. You're either Hall of Fame worthy or not. It's not based on the position. And I know it's tough when we're talking about 5 spots for modern era finalists, right? Randy Gradishar and Steve McMichael, those were senior votes. Those are their own category. So you just had you had Peppers, Willis, Freeney, Hester, and Andre Johnson. Those are the 5 modern eras. So if you're going to put Antonio Gates in, you got to pull one of those 5 people off. And I think you and I are seeing it the same way with Devin Hester.
I think it's easy to take Hester off. And The other guys, I would put him in over Andre Johnson, but I can see the arguments for, the other. Like I think Patrick Willis absolutely belongs in. Um, uh, Julius Peppers absolutely belongs in. I think Freeney does too. But I also think there's a lot of guys who belong in there too, like Jared Allen and the such. But to me, my thing is like Antonio Gates being number one and tight end receiving tight end stats and not being a first ballot is kind of crazy.
Anything else? Did you have a problem with Lamar not being unanimous? Did you have a problem with Myles Garrett winning it over TJ Watt, who obviously had a problem with it? Did you have a problem with Joe Flacco winning comeback player of the year over DeMar Hamlin or
No,
Kevin Stefanski winning the coaching award? Anything here?
no, I didn't have a problem with any of it. I truly want to know how much money was bet on DeMar Hamlin to win comeback player of the year before the year. I remember people just being like, "Hey, just bet, $100 on this. It's free. It's not a lot of money, but it's free money." And I kind of kind of crazy, but I actually don't know who I would vote. Comeback player of the year, the award kind of stinks, anyways, right?
Yes, but I do think like in a year where DeMar Hamlin, let's say we had been 2 or 3 years removed from DeMar's return, it would have been a perfect award for Joe Flacco to have won. I mean, literally, he came back to save somebody's season off of a couch. Like I did think that it was kind of cool. Yes, usually it's
But I
because
think the Browns were already in the playoffs when he joined them, right? Like obviously he was an upgrade, but he also threw a ton of interceptions in the good moments in there too.
yeah, but
Like,
they went 4-1 with him as a starter or something. Like
do you
he
think Joe
gets
Flacco is going to get a starter deal this offseason?
no, but I think it'll be fascinating to see where he does end up. It'll be very interesting. As far as the Hamlin thing, real quickly, I think they could have avoided. I'm not going to call it embarrassing today, but everybody questioning it because everybody's like, well, wait a second, we saw a guy who almost lost his life on a field. Like, how does that not qualify? What they should have done was just rename it the DeMar Hamlin Comeback Player of the Year Award. They should have had a piece uh, last night just talking about his return to the field, and then he could have handed out the award to the first recipient of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the award stinks. I would have voted Baker Mayfield, honestly, out of all of those. But I
Fair?
feel like you should do a most improved player, not like, guy who got injured and was good coming back or the gene like the problem is it's a lot harder to name the most improved in the NFL compared to like the NBA or baseball or something where the stats are just a lot more linear with across the board. Um, but I think that's the award I care about the least because to me it means nothing.
No, no, no. Well, right. I mean, let's be honest. Like,
So maybe I
offense,
would have just given it to Hamlin just because it's the only like it'd be a cool story. But I generally don't care about that award at all.
I, I, I'm with you on this. I think Defensive Player of the Year award did get a lot of buzz on social media. In part because T.J. Watt obviously said something about it,
And Steelers
or
fans are nuts in the Miles Garrett TJ Watt debate.
I know, but all they do is just put up the stats, which is fine. And I understand it, and I'm willing to even listen. Miles, the last 5 or 6 games, really put up very, very few counting stats. Um, I would answer it this way. There's not one person, for the most part, well, there's one person who felt like Josh Allen should have been the MVP. Lamar Jackson's numbers are pedestrian. He was 15th in yards. He was 11th in touchdowns. Really nothing quite stood out except for wins. And when you watch him play, you're like, wow, that looks like the MVP. But nobody else had such gaudy numbers. Now you could say, well, TJ Watt had more sacks or whatever, and he had more pressures, or I get it. But either watch the games and I suppose you can go talk to the offensive coordinators about who they game plan more viciously for, double teams, etc. They're both great players, but it doesn't just come down to counting stats.
Yeah. No, I do see their argument because I think the MVP is a little bit, or not MVP, or those awards are like they're not about future production. It's more about like I do think it does come down to counting stats a little bit. Actually, not a little bit, a good amount, but it's not like Miles Garrett like had these bad count. I mean, I'm looking it up right now. I mean, Miles Garrett's stats were 14 sacks. How many tackles for a loss did he have? 17 tackles for a loss, 30 QB hits. Yeah, so um and TJ Watt's won it a few times too as well. So it's not
Well,
like
he's
he's
won.
someone
I
who
think
gets
he's won it one time, I believe. Right?
Oh, really? I thought he won it twice for some reason.
I think he's a one timer. I think last year was his first time, or 2 years ago, whatever it was. But I understand it. Like I get it. I get it. Why you? If they had picked him, I wouldn't have been like, what? They went with T.J. Watt. But I'd feel the same way about Myles Garrett. Like, okay, yeah. I mean, they're both wonderful players, and I know it's the whole Pittsburgh Cleveland thing, but geez, man, if that's where you're going to spend your energy today, good luck. Good
Yeah,
luck.
the argument comes down to that Garrett plays more like he does like TJ Watt does things that 99% of players would get yelled at for doing, whether it's like, losing his gap or, making a play, which if you do that stuff, you have to be great at, and TJ Watt is. So I do understand. Like, I think if TJ Watt won, I don't think there'd be any argument from anybody.
No,
Would there be?
no, I don't think
But,
so.
so
Whatever.
I do see the argument. It's like, well, what does this guy have to do? Because his stats are significantly like 5 sacks and a couple more tackles for loss. That's a pretty wide margin. But I think Myles Garrett was better this year.
All right. Taylor Swift expected to arrive in Vegas at some point this weekend. Of course, she's playing her Eras Tour in Japan. Then she'll cross the international date line. She'll presumably get into Vegas late Saturday night. Will the trip be worth it, or will it be a sad flight back to the rest of her international tour? Basically, I'm looking for a prediction from you.
Well, she might have to, if she goes to dinner, a couple miles away, she might fly there too. Have you seen the Taylor Swift flight tracker? It's very funny to me. And the memes coming out of it, it's like are very funny. I'm going 49ers 31, Chiefs 23. This was my Super Bowl pick before the year. I changed to the Browns mid-year. This is my Super Bowl pick. 49ers 31, Chiefs 23. The firepower of the 49ers offense is just greater than what the Chiefs are able to accomplish. Brock Purdy debates go wild on Monday morning TV shows.
I picked the Chiefs to win in Buffalo. I didn't think that they were going to win in Baltimore, and now I think they're rolling. I think they're going to win. I think they win 27-24. I think that they have one more field goal out of their kicker. I think that could be a real problem for San Francisco this weekend. I hate to even bring it up, but sorry,
Yeah,
Kansas
no,
City.
that's that. Don't kicker mishaps in the Super Bowl have to be the most painful thing in the world.
Oh, the
Even though my
worst.
team benefited from one. Shout
Yeah.
out Scott Norwood. But hey, Chiefs won a Super. Hey, kind of not won. They probably still could have won and maybe even would have won against the Bills. But that has helped them before.
Mhm.
But in Las Vegas, inside, I'm going 49ers. I just think there's way too much firepower for them cats.
Okay. All right. Do you want to do a little Super Bowl quiz I've kind of prepared?
I would love to.
All right, let's do this. These are some odd facts and figures as I was perusing through my NFL Network research packet, which our awesome crew does. The team that scores first in the first 57 Super Bowls, what is their record?
57.
How many times have they won?
I'll say 31 and 26.
37-20.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Kansas City is the home team this weekend. The unofficial home team, whatever the hell that means. What is the home team's record in the Super Bowl? How many wins?
When did they stop doing it to the team with the best record?
I mean, this has been for 50. I don't know. I can't
I
tell
don't know.
you.
I'll go 28 and math and 29.
23-34. They have lost 13 of the last 17. Wow. Interesting. How many of the MVPs? There have been 58 because one year there were shared MVP honors. How many of the 58 MVPs have been quarterbacks?
47.
Oh, you overshot the runway on that. 32.
Damn, those early ones, and the running backs, got probably a lot of them. But
Well, let's see here. The first three, four. Oh, the first four were quarterbacks, and then the fifth one was a guy on a losing team. Do you know who that was, by the way?
no, was it in the Joe Namath Super Bowl? No, he won the
No,
MVP.
no. It was in the Colts Cowboys Super Bowl V. Chuck Howley was the MVP for a losing team. He's the only one.
Can't believe I forgot that. I actually think LeBron should have won the Finals MVP in 2016. Debate a wall. Who is one because it goes to the quarterbacks a lot of times?
Mm-hmm.
Who is your this guy should have won the MVP, but they just gave it to the quarterback?
I think it's an easy one for me. Super
Deion
Bowl
Lewis?
41. It went to Peyton Manning, and it should have gone to Joseph Adai, I believe, is the guy who had a pretty decent game against the Bears. Peyton, it was like a lifetime achievement award. He wasn't great. He did have that blown coverage touchdown pass to Reggie Wayne, but I think that was it. So what Joseph Adai do that day?
I want to look it up right now. I was a big Joseph Adai fan, by the way, too. I love that draft pick for the Colts.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Let's see. He had a good receiving day, so he had 140 total yards.
Yeah,
Had 10 catches for 66 yards, but no touchdowns. Hard to get into it without any touchdowns.
but what did Peyton do?
I mean, his stats weren't great in that game.
Yeah, okay.
That was more of like the Bears' offense not showing up. I was a huge as a Rex Grossman fan, by the way.
Jesus.
Let me down.
Why do you have an answer to your own question?
No, so I would have voted Tyree in 42 over Eli. In the moment, I remember actually going to NFL.com, shout out, and voting
Wow.
Tyree because he had the touchdown earlier in the game.
Yes,
He had
did.
that big play. I go back and forth with Deion Lewis and Tom Brady in the Falcons Super Bowl, just because, man, he put up some freaking numbers and the touchdowns to go with it.
Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns, including the winner in overtime, right?
Yeah, and everything basically ran through him in that. He had the 2-point conversion too, the direct. By the way, that wasn't the first time that Bill Belichick did the direct. You know what? Bill Belichick loves 2-point conversion, direct snap to the running back. He did that in a couple of Super Bowls. Let's see. I need to go through this to think. So Cooper Kupp won. Brady.
I can hold on. This is my thing. You need to ask me a Super Bowl MVP question? Give me a call. This is my jam. Are you kidding me? Throw it out there and I'll answer it for you.
I actually think they've done a pretty good job giving it to the skill players when they deserve it.
Yeah,
there's been a lot more than I realized. Kupp, Edelman, Von Miller.
Hines
One of my
Ward.
favorite things is 2 of the best defenses in Super Bowl, that have carried their team. Not carried, the Bucks won. Is that the unknown guy wins it? Dexter Jackson with the Bucks. Think about and Dexter Jackson was a really good player. I interviewed him a couple years ago. That team is full of Hall of Famers on that defense, and Dexter Jackson wins it. And then Malcolm Smith with the Seahawks is a very funny one. And the best Super Bowl MVP interview where the guy grabs the microphone and tells us to investigate 9/11.
And then, but you had the best defense ever, possibly for a single season in the 46 Chicago Bears in Super Bowl 20. Richard Dent was your MVP, and there's a Hall of Famer for you.
There you go.
Yeah. 10 players from defense have won Super Bowl MVP honors. In Super Bowl 12, you had Randy White and Harvey Martin, rest in peace, that shared the honor for the Dallas Cowboys. Only time we've had co-MVPs of a Super Bowl.
Do you remember the last just co-MVP in the NFL? This should be an easy
Yes,
one.
I do. Brett Favre and Barry Sanders in 97, I believe.
Man, it's so sad to see you be wrong. It's Peyton Manning and Steve McNair.
No! Oh, my
that?
God. Yeah, I do now. Bummer.
I'm shocked you got that one wrong.
Well, it wasn't that much after those guys. It was probably 02 or something.
I think it was 03, I believe.
Dang it. Good job. Good job, you. Bad job, me. Darn it. All right. That's enough for trivia time, although I could do this stuff all day with you.
Yeah,
Fun.
we need to. You know what? We're never on the trivia shows on the channel.
I
They just
know.
need to let us just do trivia.
I know. They get, come on, all these jokers. You think they know
And
trivia.
we just do like, it's we do pop trivia, right?
Yes,
Where
right off
we're
the
not,
top of your
we're not
head.
like, oh, let's put together this game. We're just like, hey, I know this. Let's see if you know it too, type of trivia.
Yeah, that is fun. I'm all in favor of it. I'm all in favor of it. All right. I think that'll do it. Enjoy your watching experience with your family, and I'll give you a little wave this weekend. Make sure you watch our post game show, okay? Please.
I will. But so I'll be I'll be waiting for. Well, let's go. Let's quick reference, and we'll just say football today somehow. You don't even have to say the show. Just be like, man, that was a lot of great football today.
Nice. I'll try and squeeze that one in. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, for producer Mikey and Bobby Skinner from the Talking Giants world, I am Chris Rose. Enjoy Super Bowl 58. We'll see you next week here on Football Today.